right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, as always, I'd like to start off by giving all the praises and all the honor and all the glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and to the elders of Great Millstone, GMS, who taught me this truth. Honors to the brethren and the Akim out there that's pushing out this truth with all sincerity and in faith. And to Wadi Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, for allowing me once again to come back with another lesson. And the title of this lesson is simply going to be titled, A Partaker of the Sufferings of the Hamashiach, or the Yahweh Shai, okay? Which I have this movie here. I'm sure brothers are quite familiar with it. The movie The Passion of Christ, or of the Christ, which we know that, his name is not Jesus, and we know that it is not referred to as the Christ. If you want to refer to him, the Christ, well, that would have to be how we say the Hamashiach, all right, the anointed. And if you say Jesus Christ, you would want to say Yahweh Shai, because that is his true name. That is his true and his only name that he has been given from the Most High. That is his name. Okay, you have Yahweh, and then you have Yahweh Shai. Okay, and this lesson is coming from a talk that I had with an individual, and I was just telling them about, because they kept on coming to me about, like, you're always talking about, the suffering of Christ and God, and, obviously not Christ, but of Yahweh Shai. And I was just like, yeah, because that's what you read about in the scriptures, and when you look up this word passion, right? We're going to look this word up here. Passion. Nope. Go there. Thank you much. We're going to look up this word passion, because well, that's not the right word. Passion of the Christ. Let's see Passion of the Christ definition. Let's see what that comes up. Okay. So Passion of the Christ, which would be the passion of the Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. And it says the Christianity, the passion of the Christ, which is the Hamashiach, refers to the final intense period of Yahweh Shai's suffering in the hours leading up to his death by crucifixion. Derived from the Latin word passion, or passion, meaning to suffer or endure. You see? And, this individual is a person who I know, and they were just, going back and forth with me about, like, oh, the suffering is not all about, there's nothing, or like, there's no benefit of the suffering. You don't stay in suffering. You go through it once, and it's a one-time deal, and then it's all love and gentleness and kindness and all this, what I call bullshit, BS, which is not it's not reality, and it's not truth. Because when you come, if you're an individual, and I know a lot of you Christians, you like to say that you're believers upon the Lord and all this stuff, but then when you're brought to this, when this thing is brought to your attention, you like to reject it, and you want to hear the soft things and the good things. You don't want to hear the hard stuff, the bitter stuff, which that would be considered the bitter, the suffering, the passion, the suffering, and the things that you must endure when it comes to this faith. And that's really what this is about. When you come into this faith, a lot of men don't really understand what they're getting themselves involved in. And I'm going to read the scripture right here. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 2, verse 1, and it says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord," which, you talk to an everyday Christian, I want to just serve Christ. I want to serve God. I want to give it all to God. They say all this, just, rehearsed BS, right? Which we don't rehearse nothing. All right, what we say and what we do when we make our lessons and when we go out to the highways and byways, there's nothing rehearsed. It's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. But when we come to serve the Lord, you got to really truly understand that when you come to serve Him, it's going to, a lot of people like to think, oh, when I come to serve God and I give my life to God, it's just going to be so great, and it's going to be just sunshine, and it's going to be rainbows, and there's not going to be any suffering, there's not going to be any crying, there's not going to be anything. It's just going to be all loving and gentleness and kindness. You talk to a wacky tacky Christian, and that's the response and answer that you'll get from them. And you have to really, in my mind, it's just like, you got to let them know that that's very, very far from the truth, because they think that when you serve God, you're going to be doing good. When you come to serve the Most High, you're going to be doing great, fabulous, terrific, tremendous. And it's honestly the complete opposite. You're not going to be doing good. You're not going to be doing tremendous. Obviously, yes, you're going to have good times and joyful times. Yes, don't get me wrong. It's not just one-sided, but it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be a hard road and tasks to try to accomplish and to endure. And the reason why I say that is because if it was just so easy to come and serve the Most High, everybody would be doing it. If the whole world knew that, oh man, all you got to do is give your life to the Most High and this and that, and your life is going to be so much better, why wouldn't anybody in their right mind want to take that opportunity? And when you come to serve the Lord, you got to prepare yourself for everything and anything. And it says here, if thou come to serve the Lord, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. So when you come to serve the Lord, you got to prepare yourself for a whole lot of things, man. And it says, verse 2, set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Meaning to constantly endure, meaning to whatever is brought forth to you, whatever is hitting your your bumper, and whatever's in your road or in your path, you're gonna have to suffer that. You're gonna have to endure it, and you can't make haste in the time of trouble. Meaning you can't flee and try to run from that. Because if you do, then you're basically gonna just you're gonna fail in serving the Heavenly Father. You have to endure all things for Yahweh Shai, for Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai sake. And it says, cleave unto Him, meaning to call upon Him, and it says, and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. And verse 4 it says, and whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully. And be patient. And to be patient, you must suffer. Like if you're in a long grocery line, and it's like let's say it's like these BS holidays that America has, and let's just say you had to go get some stuff, you was running low on something, and it's the 4th of July, or it's Thanksgiving, or it's something. It's one of these pagan holidays, and you're just here trying to get some sugar or whatever, right? Or you're trying to get a bottle or whatever it is, right? The line's gonna be popping, that store's gonna be booming, and the line sometimes could take a long time, because when you go to the grocery store, man, there's only 2 to 3, 4, maybe cash registers ready, and then you have your self checkouts, and people are taking their time, they're on their phones, they're running, grabbing their kids because they're stealing candy bars off the shelf. It's just going to be a time where you're just going to be like, okay, this is going to be a little bit. I'm going to have to wait, and I'm going to have to suffer this. I'm going to have to be patient and wait my turn. And once I get my turn, I'm going to scan the shit that I have quick, and I'm out of this. I'm out of here. That's the same thing when it comes to the faith. You're going to have to go through some stuff to where you're going to have to thug it out. You're going to have to take it on the chin. And when you go to that definition of take it on the chin, it says to take it on the chin means to accept hardship, defeat, or criticism bravely and without complaining. I've heard that term from boxing and from at a very young age, that take it on the chin. Or if you fell and you ate shit, hey, your uncle or your dad, hey, grandpa saying, hey, get up, walk it off, walk that shit off, don't cry. You better pull back them tears, man. And that's what you have to do in this faith. You're gonna have to walk it off. You're gonna have to take it on the chin. You're gonna have to be patient when there are changed to a low state, because there's the benefit of suffering. That's how you're perfected. That's how our Lord Yahushua was perfected. And that's how he was able to be right here, right now, as I speak, on the right-hand side of the Father. The only way he was able to be where he's at right now is through the suffering and through the pain and through the agonizing, gruesome, long death that he had to endure. If he hadn't gone through that, I don't really think that he'd be in the position. I mean, he probably still would be, but it would only make sense for him to go through what he went through to earn that spot on the right-hand side of the Father, as well as many other men who have went after the heart of Yahweh Shem Shai. Those men suffered, and they suffered greatly. And that's the thing, is that in order for us to be purified and to be made perfect, we have to go through the fire. We have to go through the furnace of adversity. There is no other way around it. There is no shortcuts or skipping that level. You must go through that level. And that level is it's a long one, but it's also a very beneficial one. Because in suffering, you learn. That's the only way to learn. You don't learn in the good times. You don't learn anything in the happy times and where things is all loving and kind and gentle and whatever all these people got to say. The only way that you grow is through friction, through adversity. It's the only way. There is no other way. In verse 5 it says, for gold is tried in the fire, and an acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. You see that? So we're that gold that has to, because if you find gold and silver and you want to try to purify that to the best of your ability, to have the most pure gold that you could possibly have on the market for yourself or to sell, you have to put it through the fire. You must put it through the furnace. You have to. Because if you don't, yeah, it's still gold. But I know there's somebody out there that did put their gold through the fire, and it's more valuable than yours, that one that didn't. And that's us men. We are that gold that has to go through that fire, that has to go through that pain, that has to go through that suffering. And we don't stay in that suffering, but we must go through it in order to what's the word I'm looking for? In order for you to have peace and have love in your life and all these things that are the good sides of Yahweh Shem Shai, you have to go through the pain first. You just don't get it. You have to earn it. And how do you earn it? By getting through the hard times. By getting those stripes. The scriptures talk about that the Lord loveth those who the Lord chasteneth, meaning punishes or puts through pain and suffering. Those are the ones that he loves. But those of you that don't go through anything and that don't go through pain and suffering, guess what? You're not sons, but you're only bastards. So when you're going through hard stuff and it's a tough deal, and it's, sometimes it could get real tough, and and then that's when the demons start to come real heavy on you. That's how you know you're doing the right thing. That's how you know you're doing the right thing. Let's go here, and I'm gonna make this a quick lesson. I'm gonna go ahead and probably just end it here to the Spirit. This is 1 Peter 1:5, and it says, the elders which are among you I exhort, and it says, who am also an elder and a witness of the sufferings of the Hamashiach, and also a partaker thereof, or a partaker thereof of the glory that shall be revealed. You see, so we're a witness not only to the sufferings of the Lord, but we're also a partaker of that. So whatever the Lord had to go through, guess what? We won't have to suffer as well, because the servant is not greater than his master. So you have to go through that. You must go through that in order to be perfected. I forget where it is in the book of Hebrews. It says, the Lord perfected through suffering. Hebrews 10.
The idea that the Lord was perfected through suffering.
Hebrews 2 and 20. Okay, I was somewhat right. I think, yeah, Hebrews 2 and, or what? Hebrews chapter 2. Yep, Hebrews chapter 2, verse 18. Okay, it says 18, and this one says 20. So what's going on? Hebrews 2 and 20. Let's go here first. Let's see what they got going on. KJV. We'll go here, click on that. Lord's will, it goes through. Salakia, brothers, I'm in a bad spot when it comes to the the service, Salakia. But this is Hebrews chapter 2, verse 10, and it says, For it became him for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, in bringing many sons unto glory, to make the captive of their salvation perfect through suffering. So in order for you to be perfect, you must go through the suffering. All right? You can't be made perfect through love and gentleness and kindness and all this stuff, and the reason why I'm saying this is because that person that I'm speaking of kept on saying that. Oh, you're made perfect through love and kindness and being good to people and all this and that. And it's just like, yeah, being love and kinding to people is not a bad thing, like that's good, that we don't want to be, ugly and mean towards anybody, but that's not going to make you perfect. The only way to be made perfect is through the sufferings of Hamashiach Yahushua, and that's how we're going to be made perfect. And that's what we have to go through, the furnace of adversity. All right. But I'm gonna go ahead and end here to the Spirit Akim. I might do a part 2 on this, but I pray this lesson was edifying, exhorting, and comforting. And as always, I want to give all praises, honor, and the glory to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Akakwadash. And it's on to the next one, Akim. Shalom.